You're listening to Creating a Universe, a Love Anarchy podcast hosted by William J. Rogers. On this show, we follow the journey of creatives, artists, and entrepreneurs who are making a name for themselves in the ever-evolving landscape of today's industry. Featuring an insight into both Love Anarchy and the Labaniverse music universe, as well as the individual projects and stories of each of our guests, from the music industry and beyond. So whether you're a budding creative or simply interested in what goes on behind the scenes, this is the podcast for you. Hello and welcome to Creating a Universe. I'm your host, William J. Rogers, and today I am here with the frontman of Oversense and producer at Sunway Studios, Mr. Danny Meyer. How's it going, Danny?
Hey, so far so good. How are you doing?
Oh, very well, thanks, man. I'm so happy to finally get to sit down and have this chat with you.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's going to be awesome.
Cool, man. So the best place to start is, would you be able to just give a little bit of an overview as to who you are and the various things that you do?
Yeah. My name is Danny Meyer. I'm a producer at Sunway Studios. And also I'm lead singer and guitarist, frontman of Oversense, German melodic metal band. We call it rebel metal. So that's pretty interesting. So we kind of did a new style for that we defined. I'm doing this whole music stuff for many years now. Let me think. We started the band in previous bands, I guess, in 2000. First band projects in 2006, and Oversense is happening since 2012. So it's been a while.
Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it with you because you personally do a lot of things. You wear a lot of hats, right? You're a singer, a guitarist in the band. You know, you're the principal songwriter, from what I gather.
Yeah,
you're
right.
a producer, as you mentioned. So that's really cool. You obviously as well. Like, I love what you do with the band in terms of like the whole package. Like you guys have a great image, and as you say, you've crafted your own style. So I really admire all of the different things you do with that, man.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Cool. So I think that where it seems like a natural place to kind of get straight into is the band Oversense. I'd love to hear some more about the journey of the band. We can touch upon like your releases and things, but first of all, perhaps you mentioned about this style, rebel metal, was it? Yeah. So how would you explain the sound in a little bit more detail? Maybe some influences, or to somebody that hasn't heard you guys before, how would you kind of go about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it's been a discussion throughout the years within the band, actually, that we were like, it was like some magazines called us power metal in the beginning.
Really?
Some called us symphonic metal, because we've got some orchestra going on here and there. Actually, it was kind of a developing. It developed in this direction. Yeah, we basically the first songs we did, it was an EP in 2014, and it continued with the Storyteller album in 2017. It was a bit like, generally my song ideas that we kind of brought together, and we worked the songs around. And it's because I was really into power metal, Edguy, Avantasia, Sonata Arctica, all these epic and mystical stuff, but also this a bit happier metal styles here. And so it came from this style, and it was really a lot influenced by generally my ideas. And we began to on the one side, I began to listen to other styles as well from my end, and on the other side, all the other guys brought the influences into the band after the first album. So it got more and more individual from style. Yeah, so we brought in more modern influences, more heavy riffing, and so we developed in another direction, while still nobody was really able to tell what it is.
Yeah.
And so now we're playing a style that is really defined by, or catchy melodies, lots of
Mm-hmm.
choir stuff happening, but on the guitar side, really focused on heavy riffing.
Mm-hmm.
We went a bit away from this whole double bass throughout the song, power metal stylistic, more into straighter. So we've got some rock influences as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also some cool electronic elements coming together. And this whole mixture, we weren't able to really put it into some style, to define it with a style that is already existing. So we said, hey, it's kind of something new, something edgy. So let's do it and call it rebel metal. And we went with the post-apocalyptic outfits and everything. So it all really got a whole package here.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I love that, and I find that a lot of the best music, and especially the groundbreaking stuff, is like that. You know, you just really can't pigeonhole it, and
there's something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a real authentic mix, you know, an authentic mix to you and your tastes and your experiences. And I find that really cool.
Right.
You know, I listen to it, and as I said, I love the music and what you do. Certainly helps with you obviously being a producer and having a musical mind in this way, because you're aware of what sounds really good all around, whether it's symphonic, whether it's synths. You know what makes a great production, so that really adds to it. But yeah, it is hard to pigeonhole, and I really like that about it. Like when I listen, my ear picks up different things all over the place.
Yeah,
and
nice.
I love that. In a way, like, I think that you guys are doing, like, where you're at with your sound now really is doing the modern metal thing very well. And you said about catchy, especially the catchy choruses. You have some massive, like, hard rock anthem sing-along choruses. And some of these things, and as well, your voice a bit, like, it maybe reminds me a little bit of, you know, like Trivium and this kind of thing.
This is cool to hear, because I really like these modern metal bands a lot, nowadays. And this is cool. And as you're mentioning, it's we always when we're at the songwriting process, we're always like, okay, this is a nice idea. Let's do it that way, and then we'll listen to it, and it sounds cool, but it's so generic, and then we want to add something special. And this is where we're not want to be like, okay, this sounds like the 100th power metal band doing the same stuff, and then we're adding some other stuff to it, making it more interesting in our minds.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was going with it, to be honest, is that you've managed to get this core of a really nice, catchy, accessible, but heavy, you know, like really good heavy and melodic modern metal. And as I say, it has a core of what someone like Trivium does, but there's all of these things that keep it interesting and creative, like constantly from some song to song. You know, a lot of them have that kind of core, but the arrangements are always getting mixed up. And for me, that's awesome, man, because that's
thank you very much.
Yeah, really creative, man. I like that a lot.
I'm glad that you're saying it, because that's the way it was meant to be.
Good. Yeah, you've articulated it well. And as you mentioned you mentioned a little bit about the process. Like, I'd be really interested to get a bit more of an insight for that. Like, what would the typical process be like for writing a song, for the different roles people play, and you know how that goes through to eventually like production and all of that.
Yeah, actually, this is it's changed over the years. Yeah, as I mentioned, it was basically in the beginning, it was basically me doing some demo stuff, and then we were like, okay, song is written, let's record something, and it was a pretty, the first album was pretty. How should I call it? There was not a lot planning going on before, and we went to the studio back then and recorded drums, and there were some general demo ideas, but nothing really fixed. And we went there and did the first drum recordings, and we had 4 days blocked, and we did the first track, and it took almost 1 day. The first day was gone, and we were like, okay, we've got one track, we want to do 12. This is gonna be Yeah, okay.
You want to do 12 tracks in 4 days. Yeah. Wow.
And we went from this. We went away from this, doing now doing cool pre-productions, coming together. So it's still like most time it's still like I've got the main ideas and recording some demos here with some funny lyrics, because it's just some stuff that you need some lyrics in there, so you record some shit in there.
You make some stuff up. Yeah.
And then I'm going into the rehearsal room to the other guys, and we're like, hey, listen to that, and we're really we're scheduling songwriting sessions, so it's not like I'm coming with a new idea and I'm collecting stuff, and then we're coming together and we're listening to stuff, and then we're like, okay, now we've got the general idea, and let's put some everything around it. So we're going into the guitars a bit more, into the drumming. So there are influences by all band members now, and this is really it feels a lot more like a band now doing this this music together. And as a songwriter, you need to learn that it's always a good thing if there are other people putting their influences in together with you, because it always adds value, I would say.
Yeah, and it's definitely another benefit to that thing of keeping things fresh and creative from track to track as well.
Right. Yeah, and and this is actually the way we're doing the songwriting. Then, we're still in the pre-production phase in the rehearsal room, recording all the stuff not finished for the final recordings, but most times we're going into the rehearsal room doing this stuff. Then we're like, okay, let's keep that as it is, and when we'll have the next songwriting session, we'll come back to it again, checking it, and then we're like, most times it's like, okay, it's pretty cool up to 80%, but what did we do at this break part here? This is totally bullshit. And we're going back and redoing it. And so after some sessions, the songs are pretty much in a state where we're saying, okay, this is cool with the ideas we have in mind that will come later. Now we're ready to record drums. Most times it's like Paddle, our drummer, is doing some E drums at first before we do the real recordings in the studio here later. Then we're like, okay, drums first, rhythm guitars on my end, bass on the other end, and then lead guitars and vocals. So really the general, as most bands do it. But we're really doing a lot of remote stuff. As many bands do it nowadays, it's cool to record guitars at home, because I will do reamping later in the studio. So it's just like the other guys recording general clean guitars, and then we'll when it comes to the mixing process, where I'll do the whole sound, create the whole sound. Then I'm going into reamping. This way, it's pretty easy for everyone to record at home. It saves time, and you can go back with the same setup and re-record stuff and edit where needed. So this is totally cool. Yeah. This is basically how the song gets more and more finished. Yeah.
Awesome. So in that first stage, when you're in the rehearsal room, how are you capturing? Are you like you're recording rough demos through just like a mic, or what's that like?
Yeah, it's actually for guitars and bass, again, it's pretty easy because we can go directly in and just use some digital stuff that sounds pretty decent for
through the PA in the rehearsal room type thing.
Yeah, we've got a little interface there. Actually, an interface that we are also using for our in-ear monitoring live. So cool. This is pretty cool, because I'm just going there with the computer and putting in this interface, and then there we go. So these are pretty easy. For drums, it's always a bit sometimes.
Yeah. I can imagine.
It feels like as I'm used to doing this all this audio stuff, it feels like I'm really happy with bad equipment for pre-production, because I know, hey, later it will sound cool. I know how it will sound later.
Yeah.
So we already had sessions where we didn't have an E-drum in the rehearsal room. We had sessions where we just put one vocal mic in front of the drums.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know all these bands who are really going into pre-production and really setting up everything, miking all the drums. For me, it's in this phase, it's like wasting a bit of time.
Yeah.
So it's but most times Puddle's got his E-drums there, so it's we've got a pretty cool setup that's pretty easy to come back to again with same sound and we most times we know how it will sound later, so we're not that critical with demo sounds.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's handy. As you say, in that phase, you really just want to be getting the ideas down. You don't want to be messing with mics and stuff. Yeah. And so if you're all like DI, then are you not actually having any sound in the room, just the drum kit, and then everyone's got in-ears?
Oh no, we enjoy listening through PA there, but we're just doing the monitoring there over the PA. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so are you using like plugins and stuff for the guitars?
Yeah. Right.
The Neural DSP ones or something like that.
Yeah, Neural DSP ones are really awesome. And actually I am a fan of this digital plugin guitar sound stuff. Not as the only sound creating source, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I really like to mix really good high quality plugins for guitars together with real tube amplifiers, reamped tube amplifiers. These plugins, they've got a really controlled high gain going on. You can really create an awesome sound in a few seconds if you know the tools well, if you've got some cool impulsive responses added to that. So you need some, you need how to use these tools, and then they really get an awesome sound. And then I like to combine it with actual tube amplifiers, mic'd tube amplifiers, to get this really analog, warm feeling that you only get from a real tube amplifier, and combine these elements together. So I'm always a fan of hybrid solutions between digital and analog. Yeah.
Nice. I've noticed that from your production videos and such, which we'll get on more into production in a second. But like for anybody that doesn't know, you have the Sunway Studios channel, and you post like production advice and things about your process, and that's one that's particularly stood out to me, this hybrid style, the blending. We'll get onto that more in a sec. I am just curious though of like, that's your ideal setup in the studio. So when you're rehearsing, I'm assuming it's all digital. And what about when you play live as well? Do you use plugins, or how would you go about that?
This really depends on the live situation. For drums, of course, acoustic. You can create awesome productions with digital drums, with E-drums. But for live, of course, acoustic drums, they also look a lot cooler.
Definitely.
And on the guitar side, it depends a bit on the stage size. Sometimes we've got smaller stages with really short changeover times. Then you're going with a camper, and you're going with digital stuff. But on the other side, if there's time, if to set up, and I love my Angle, Victor Smolsky. For guitars, this is such an awesome amplifier, really. Cool. It depends a bit, but basically that's the way. So, but we are pretty. We set up our live rig pretty, like, we're flexible with it. So we are doing our own in-ear monitoring. We want that this setup is always the same, because we had shows when we went there and it was like, okay, change over 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And after 20 minutes, you just the drums were just set up, but no line check, nothing, no monitoring. And so we were like, okay, no, now we need to go with an own setup, and we set up an in-ear monitoring system. We've got our sampler because we always have electronics and orchestra stuff as well. So we've got the sampler in there. Our drummer's got the click on his in-ear, and we have a cool way to hear our singing and the guitars, and that's the way we go live.
Nice. Yeah, that's handy. That's handy. But I was curious. So you're not all in the box when it comes to guitars. You're always using some kind of amp, whether it's a Kemper or a tube amp and things like that.
I wouldn't trust a MacBook on stage. I'm not. I know it can work. I know, and I love to use all this stuff in the studio, but there is something that I'm afraid of.
It's like one thing goes down and everything is dead. Yeah.
I don't know. The show starts. The MacBook want to do an update or some shit like that.
Yeah. Did you see it? Was it like Falling in Reverse, I think, or something like that? Did you see it recently? They cancelled a bunch of shows because their laptop died or got stolen or something.
I heard that. It's I can feel them. I can understand it in a way, because if we wouldn't have a sampler with a click on it, it is an element that really adds a lot of value to our sound. Yeah, having all this. We are an handmade rock metal band. So we all the guitars, everything is. There's nothing that comes from sampler or something. But when it comes to electronic stuff and orchestra and some bombastic choirs, that really add a lot of value to our sound. You can only get them from a sampler, and so if we wouldn't have that, it would be pretty fucked as well.
Exactly. I think most people really in this day and age, are using these sounds because we can't afford to bring that whole choir with us and a bunch of synth players and
that's
all of these things.
But on the other side, I'm not sure if my if my honor as a musician would allow me to really cancel a show because of that.
Yes.
I would be like, okay, now we gotta go with what we have. So let's play some old school hard rock style now.
Yeah. I saw it was very controversial, man. A lot of people, especially ones that probably don't do this, just thought like, it's all like a rip-off. It's all like, oh, they're just using backing tracks. They're not a real band.
But on the other side, of course, it depends on the production size. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what they had on this laptop. Maybe there is something more. Settings for the whole production, for the whole sound and light stuff and everything.
Yeah, the lights as well. People run the light show off of there.
So of course with growing production size, it's getting more and more equipment that you need.
We just are so reliant on this technology, whether we like it or not. But it is nice, I suppose, sometimes to go back to, I don't know, the Led Zeppelin style, just an electric guitar with a really loud amp.
That's right, yeah.
And that's it.
sometimes I miss these band rehearsals, being teenagers, where we just go into a small rehearsal room, just really the amplifier all up and the drums and no in-ear, and it's, of course, this is not the way you should do it, and it's terrible for your ears. But
oh man, so bad.
But it's got a pretty it's got an own vibe, of course.
Definitely. It's almost a rite of passage. You have to start like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, I am really interested, just because you mentioned there about like back in the day and things like that. I'm really keen to speak about production, but I think that we could naturally work into it, because I'd love to like take things right back to the beginning and talk about like when you first got into music and how that trajectory went to where you are now. Yeah,
sure. This is always interesting. Of course, everybody's got a different way how he got where he is now. Yeah, right. For me, it was like starting with music was I was as a kid I was so you hear I'm going really really back to the beginning. Yeah.
Origin story. That's what it's about.
No, as a kid, I was like not the one who wanted to go playing soccer with the other guys, or I'm playing Game Boy, Pokemon, and everything, and then this was okay. Yeah. And so my mom was like, he needs to do a hobby now. So and she was like asking me, okay, you've got a choice whether you go having a guitar lesson or keyboard lessons. And I was like 6 years old or something.
Wow.
And I said, okay. So she would not force me to do it, but she just wanted me to try it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was okay. Yeah, let's do keyboard. And I went there and began with keyboard, and it really was cool for me. It's a cool instrument for kids because it's like you can the first thing is you just push a note, just push a key, and there is sound, and it sounds cool. It's totally different on guitar. Yeah. And the other thing is when you as a kid, when you're able to play keyboard, it's like, I can play every instrument now. I just press this button and now I'm playing sax.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah.
So this was cool, and I did that for several years, and then wanted to go with guitars as well. So I got my first acoustic guitar when I was 11, I guess. Mm-hmm. Really simple acoustic guitar that's really tough to play. I hate to play it now because it's really it doesn't feel good and everything. But actually, that was good for me to learn. I'm always saying, if you can play on a bad guitar, you can play really great on a good guitar. So this was cool. Yeah, and two years later, with 13, getting the first guitar, electric guitar. An Ibanez RG, it's with little Vox Valvetronics. They just came out, these modeling amps, and actually they're really really cool amps because they deliver a cool sound in a really small combo. You've got this modeling option with going from really clean sounds to high gain stuff. Of course, it doesn't sound like a big cabinet, but they do a great job. And that was so much fun. So we really went the original, the usual way, with having some guys here in the little village I'm from, and playing some cover songs, playing some Iced Earth and all this stuff, some Metallica, and we did some first shows, cover shows. I was like, okay, now I want to record a bit with little Tascam, so a compact mixer device. It was digital already, but it was 8 tracks only or something, so it was tough to record drums on that. And from that we did some own original stuff, and then it's like, if you meet with 13 or something, and the other guys were not that much into music, so after several years it was like, okay, I feel that we are not going the same direction. So, and that was the point where I got to Puddle, who's now the drummer of Oversense, and we were like, hey, I've got some cool ideas, I want to record. Let's do a band together, and this is how Oversense was founded in 2012. That's
awesome.
First as a studio project, and then we went live 2014 with the other guys.
Amazing. So there's a few ideas came to mind there, which was like, at what point did you start singing? I missed that. It was like this also pretty the standard story that a lot of bands you can't
had.
find a singer.
Right.
Someone has to do it. But fine.
But it was a bit. I now looking back, I think it was like, I was a bit happy that we didn't find somebody, because I've got an argument to say, okay, hey, I'm gonna try it, and in the end I was totally bad at the beginning. I was,
of course,
okay in getting the notes, but I was singing totally through the nose, so it was really sounding like this. Yeah, so it was really no cool sound and everything. But it got better and better. I also had some lessons, and but it was really because there was nobody else who was sing.
That's it. So even in like your first bands when you're like 13, 14, etc., like already you were at that point where you're like, fine, I'll give it a go.
So let's say we didn't really search that long because I was pretty fast in saying, okay, now I'm do it.
That's good. As well, man, like obviously everyone's so connected online and working remotely these days, so it changes things a lot. But back then, as you say, you're restricted to the people in your village.
Yeah,
maybe probably your school.
and actually it is a small village. It's about 1,000 people living here. So
wow, yeah. You're in Germany, right?
Yeah, right. Pretty much in the middle of Germany, and there is. It's about an hour to drive if you want to go into a city that's a little bit bigger. So
cool. Yeah.
But that's a cool way that today this is possible. So otherwise I wouldn't be able to do my job, right? So I'm totally happy about that.
The remote thing. Me too. Yeah, me too, man. I think obviously a lot of people have the kind of more obvious things that we can complain about, but it comes with so many benefits.
Yeah.
Definitely. One thing I wanted to touch on though, whilst we were still talking about your origin story, is like you said you started with piano and stuff. Did you start with like classical music or what kind of things were you doing?
Oh no, it was really some basic music school, doing popular music stuff as well. So it was really on the keys, going with chords on the left hand and playing melody on the right hand, and then you've got the sampler doing the whole drums and bass stuff according to the chords you're playing. So it was that's how these one-man shows do it on some smaller festivals.
Yeah, and busking in the in the street.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, cool. I'm with you. So, but I'm curious, I suppose, as to your interest in music. Like you obviously said, you started there and then jumped into playing metal bands. So, like, at what point did you get into metal, and what would you say your musical kind of stylistic background was? Like, what was the first music that you liked and such?
Yeah, actually, through the lessons, it was pretty. I was listening to everything when I was a kid, because I would say your real musical background comes a bit later anyway. It's as a kid you're pretty much listening to everything. And so it was with actually with 11, 12 years old when I started playing guitar, because it was all about guitar music then. And it started with Metallica, pretty much in this age. My father always listened to some rock stuff before, so AC/DC, Meatloaf, and stuff like that. Yeah, so so I got in touch with Metallica, coming from this, really doing all the classic thrash stuff, checking that out. Then coming to power metal. Yeah, I would say when I was 12, 13, when we kind of founded the first band, that was when, and all the other guys here, they all were all into metal. So it's
nice.
Got that. It went that way.
Like shared it with your friends, and you're all like, that's cool.
It was a time of MP3 players and everything. So
so you can just swap.
Right. You've got the new album there. Can I have it? And copying it. And it was like that. Yeah, it's the I don't think that people who were born 10 years later they're like, what? It was just on this one machine and not streaming.
Yeah. It's all on demand, like everything, anywhere, exactly, all on tap. That's cool. Do you remember the first time you heard Metallica?
You mean on record or live?
Just the first time you,
okay,
on record,
okay.
I'd imagine it was the first time.
Okay, yeah. So I guess everyone listened to Enter Sandman or Nothing Else Matters on the radio before, but yeah. It's subtle. Unfortunately, it's not like there was a magical moment that I remember.
Okay. Cool. No
but
worries.
I got some old CDs from my father and listening to. I guess it was actually just a single around the Black Album time period, and there was a single with Nothing Else Matters and 2 other tracks or something, and I listened to that on repeat, and then went from there.
Yeah, nice.
But
so what? Go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the Metallica because I saw them live. I guess 2 or 3 times now, and
nice.
This really is something. There's still something special live, I would say.
Yeah.
And
they're so professional, like they're so solid.
Yeah.
With how they are live, man.
And actually, for me, the last show I saw, and I have to lie now because I don't know, it was before all the COVID stuff happening, I guess, when they've been in Munich. And this actually was 2019 or something about that. And this actually was the best show I saw of them because
nice.
And it's James was really he was singing. What did he sing? I guess hit the lights, yeah. And it sounded like on the album, just more grown up, just more voluminous. It was really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly, but I think I saw them in 2019. Somewhere around there as well. And yeah, I remember being blown away. Just like it's actually a masterclass of of performance, so professional. I think they're an easy target in a way because they're just so big, like biggest metal band ever. Everyone wants to criticize Lars Ulrich or whatever, but he's actually insanely good, man. Because like maybe he's not doing the flashiest stuff ever, but like there is such a pulse to it, and they're so tight and so well held together.
And it's not always about being the fastest one or being the most technical.
100%.
It's a lot of feeling that and a lot of spirit and sometimes it's not really one person. Sometimes it's just the guys being together. The
synergy. Absolutely.
And that's something really special. And this is why I also really like to listen to Lars playing live. It's just that's the drive that Metallica's got from his strumming, and it's really, really cool. And of course, what you're saying, as you're getting bigger and bigger, it's a lot easier to be target for all the haters out there. And so but of course they just telling shit because they're not that big.
Yeah, of course, man. It's very easy to, like Metallica, what they've achieved is unbelievable. I remember, I don't know how it is now, but I remember some years ago there being a statistic that it was a bit demoralizing, to be honest. But it was that like, even like brand new metal albums that were coming out every week were still being outsold by the Black Album that week.
Wow.
So still today, the Black Album is selling more copies every week than a brand new metal album.
That's crazy. That's really crazy.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I mean, and what a legacy they managed to have. And also like how it's been dug up recently with Stranger Things and all that, and like a whole new generation is brought in. That's awesome.
Is really cool. That's really cool. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, Stranger Things was awesome anyway, but the scene was really cool when he was on the rooftop and playing it.
Totally. Totally. I remember the first time I heard Metallica because I was being babysat. And I was already into rock music just like you, AC/DC and some other things. I started playing guitar, but then the guy and his mate that was babysitting me, they played guitar and they were into metal music.
Okay.
And I was like, well, what's your favorite band? And they were like, Metallica. I was like, whoa, Metallica. They were like, all right, we'll play you a little bit. And they actually played me something from S&M, the symphonic.
Yeah, cool.
The live symphonic one.
Yeah.
And I just remember hearing just 30 seconds of a metal band with an orchestra.
Yeah.
And just being mind blown, man. Like that was a whole other level.
This album is crazy. This live album is crazy. It's so cool. It's and it feels a lot different to all this. It's not comparable with symphonic metal or something. It's just,
I agree. Yeah,
it's something totally unique.
And but the orchestrations are real, like orchestrations. Yeah, as you say, they're not just arrangement enhancers for like they're much more intrinsic than that. They're doing their whole own thing.
It's not like just doing a metal song and then we need there is something missing in the chorus. We need some strings there to fatten it up. It's a lot
exactly
complex arrangements, but they fit that good to all this already complex thrash metal stuff, and this is totally crazy.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's really awesome. And what about any other bands or artists that had like really big impact on you?
Basically after Metallica, it was mainly a lot of power metal stuff. At Guy Avantasia. I really still love the songwriting of Tobias Sammet. It's awesome what he does. Some more of the more I would say darker Nordic stuff. Sonata Arctica. They've been a pretty huge impact on me as well. Having some more progressive, but I always was. I love listening to some progressive stuff, but most times I'm coming back to the more straighter stuff. Just most times it's got more drive for me, to listen to. But I really love when somebody is that progressive and with arrangements, but then it must be really, really on point, and it's. A lot of bands, they don't know where to stop.
Yes, exactly. It can become like self-indulgent after a while, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, I get you, man. And I think that's the thing is songwriting in general. It's like you're kind of bringing order to chaos, you know, inherently chaotic energy.
Yes.
And so we all have our own tastes and our own gauge of where to do that. And I personally really love progressive music, and I love when it gets really chaotic, but as you say, there has to be a sense of order maintained, because if you're just doing whatever, then it ceases to really, you know. So
that's right, and that's the main point where most newcomers are struggling with writing their first tracks. That's what I most times when I'm doing songwriting advices, doing production with some pretty young or new bands, most times it comes back to one simple rule, that is simple is most times making it simple, more simple is better.
Yes.
So they've got ideas. Hey, we've got the rhythm guitars, then we'll do lead guitars, we'll do the main melody with 4 backing harmonies and choirs and everything, and wow, you need to focus on something, because the listener will be like, I don't know what to listen to.
Yeah, you're right. I think especially in metal, because a lot of us in metal are coming from an approach, especially if it's power metal or symphonic metal or something. We're thinking, I want to make the most epic thing ever.
Yeah, right. It's always like
so
that.
You're throwing everything at it. Throw the kitchen sink, you know? So, yeah, I 100% know what you mean. I mean, I thought the same thing when I started getting into production and bigger arrangements in writing as well. And my early things, I was literally trying to just throw everything there. Just massive wall of sound. And I think that has its place. But you're right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's bad having all these ideas and bringing them together, but they really need to fit. So if you're bringing, for example, together choirs and lead guitars and strings, and they need to align in some way, and they need to blend together and then create something cool.
Yeah.
But if they're all doing their own thing, it wouldn't work in the end. Yeah.
I think it's that thing is like, as a producer, you obviously know that by hand, but as a beginner, like, it's just this notion of, if you want everything to be loud,
Yeah.
you know, it's not possible. You might as well, like, if you put something louder, you might as well turn everything else down. It's the same effect. So it's all about leveling and balancing, you know?
Right, that's totally right. But I, as you're mentioning, I totally understand that most beginners are feeling like, oh, I've got it, my song now, my chorus going on, and I've got another idea. Let's put it in. Oh, I want it to be louder, and then, oh, I don't hear the rhythm guitars anymore. Let's push them a bit.
But then louder, yeah.
Oh, the bass is missing. Oh, let's put it, and then it's going all messy in the end. But yeah,
easy done.
That's why I think it's you can do a lot of stuff on your own these days. You can really also if you're a beginner band, a newcomer, you can really record stuff, but pretty cool these days on your own. But when it comes to the mixing aspect and so on, then you should go with an expert that knows, and you should be open for advices for regarding songwriting and arrangement, because it's always like a bit, if you're focusing on your own music and really working on it for hours and hours, and you're in a band, and you're like, the one member's got a good idea, and then the other one, and they're putting everything together, and they're really hyped about it. They're really feeling, oh yeah, we're creating something really, really cool, and this is totally how it should be in the end. You're getting like you're just seeing that, and you don't think about how something from outside is listening to it, and then this is why it's important to, I think, to have somebody else helping you out and supporting you for this process. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, just to have a fresh set of ears and the objectivity, like it's so important. So I mean, we might as well get to that, because in terms of where you told us about your musical journey, it sounds like your production journey and recording and stuff started with this digital recorder 8-track, I think you said, which is really cool, because we obviously we lived in a very unique transitional era, because my first recording as well was on actually like a 4-track digital thing, and it was about this big. And you could DI into it, but there was no interface like on a DAW, you know. It was just like a thin screen, and you could record 4 tracks, but then you'd have to bounce everything down to the 2 stereo tracks. And then just 3 and 4 you can record new stuff, and then you have to bounce and commit.
It was the same. It was the same with this tool that I was using.
Yeah, it's a funny era, like in between the original analog and what we have now. So that was how you began. How did you find that, and then how did that level up to, you know, doing production properly, I suppose?
Yeah, it was really painful recording with that.
Yeah. Again, a good place to get started. Like you said about the guitar, like if you can play on a really hard guitar, then yeah.
But to be honest, it really didn't sound good.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, man. Exactly. So it was like recording the drums in a bad sounding basement room. In my parents' house, and there was just room on this record, and then some guitars with DI outs of some really bad FX pedals. It really sounded not good. And but as you're mentioning, we all have to start somewhere, and
it sounds like an ideal black metal recording environment.
No, in this case, we would have put the drums out in the forest.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It began with that, but then I purchased first a really small interface that got a basic Cubase LE version with it, and started with that. I've always been pretty good with software, with getting into software. Always was pretty fast with all computer stuff. That's why I did my bachelor, my studies in digital media, which is kind of somewhere in between audio, video, and programming stuff and everything.
Awesome.
Yeah, this was something that I was pretty fast in learning. So this is why I just I just went with this Cubase version and just went into it and was like, okay, let's try out, and okay. Did a lot of mistakes in the beginning, but yeah, that's the way you learn best, right? And
100%.
And so we started and we tried out some stuff, and we started with the first Oversense records in 2012. That actually have been pretty good for if you consider the setup we had, just really basic interface, really going into the rehearsal room, some basic mics, but it was cool for the first EP. We went with the Gate Studios in Wolfsburg, who already did Adguy and Aventasia, so
nice.
I knew they know about the music and they know what they're doing. So, but we initially started with really going the professional way from the beginning, recording on your own, but going with professional mixing.
Yeah.
And actually that's why that's why it really always went pretty good for the band, because it's of course you have to start somewhere, but if you're coming out with the first tracks, maybe you're not doing a high professional production with going into the studio for a week, and because it's a lot of budget that you need, of course. But with this kind of hybrid solution, this was really cool, and this really helped us because we started with some really well produced stuff. Yeah. Of course, it got better over the years, recording the album. Then 3 years later, I really learned a lot of stuff from my studies, from trying out, from YouTube tutorials, from going into some literature, some books and everything. It got better. We recorded the drums in the studio back then, because I was like, okay, drums. We don't have the room, we don't have the mics. Let's go there. Doing guitars and vocals on our own again. So it's kind of, I kind of did the journey with audio production that I now want my customers to have in a short amount of time. Yeah. So
yes.
So they won't make the mistakes that I did, because it made me getting better in this all audio stuff. But from a band's perspective, it would have been a lot quicker, doing a lot faster, just going with a cool production in the beginning. Yeah. But this is how it got bigger and bigger, and then I decided to go from a little home recording studio going into the bigger rooms that I'm now. It's at my parents' house in an old. So I prepared an old how's it called, an old hall, an old it was just nice. Storage, just storage room. It's beside the main building, so we did a lot of stuff here, treatments, acoustical treatments. We actually built a wall to have a recording room and a monitoring room.
That's so good.
Yeah, and then from there it started as a part-time thing. And after in last year I decided to go full time with studio. Amazing. And it actually was one of the best moves I did in my life, I guess.
That's so good to hear.
Feeling so good.
Oh man, I'm so glad to hear that. Cool. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, I think it's probably often the way that what really got you into production was you making your own music.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
where's a better place to start, I suppose. And so now obviously you've made a few of your own records and been doing that for years, and now you've built this awesome studio and you're able to share that and your experience and all of that with other artists and things like that. So the Sunway Studios is the name of your the studio then. Is that the name of, like, did you name it Sunway Studios after you built this studio, or is that name carried over?
This is actually something that's this whole naming thing is something that's going through my whole musical career. It's always like going back to the most simple ideas. Because Sunway, it's actually the street name is Sun Street. So
nice. I like that.
So this is why, and it sounded cool. It sounded like some Abbey Roads. Yeah. So
yeah. And it looks nice and sunny there right now as well. Nice to have some natural light there, not being in a basement.
Today it is, but it was like a whole month just rainy. So
of course,
that's why I love having, although it's a studio, I love having the windows here.
Yeah.
And I'm just mentioning the naming thing because it's actually the same with Oversense.
Cool.
Oversense is it's got a cool vibe, with over sensual, something like that. So but mainly it's just a really bad translation of the village name I'm living in, which is Oversinn, which is German for the two words over, and Sinn it's actually the river here, but it also is the German translation for sense. So
wow,
so it's pretty
amazing.
Yeah, actually,
cool. So it all comes back to your roots.
Actually, it's totally stupid, but it sounds cool.
That's so cool. So you're still in that same like village and things that you grew up in, and at your base. That's great, man.
I have to say, I'm so glad, as I mentioned before, that this whole remote stuff is so easy today, because I'm really in my heart I'm a village boy.
yeah. It's so good. Like when we touched on that earlier, like I feel the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually born in London, and I used to go out to gigs every night and do all of that stuff. But now, I mean, I definitely burned out from doing that. And after getting into production and things, I really wanted to be able to be at home, hanging in the studio.
Yeah, cool.
I love getting to meet people online, and being able to.
So did you move to a smaller town?
Yes, yeah. So now I'm in a town in the north of England.
Okay.
And I'm here just with my family, and I get to spend lots of time with them. Which is
amazing.
A great base, and then I get to hang out with cool people from all over the world online, and that really suits me. Like what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah,
really
I think
nice.
that's great. I do think that there's an element of, I get from a lot of people that, we maybe sometimes miss this sense of physical presence. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So the COVID situation, of course, is it was the extreme way that I guess nobody wants to have.
Yeah.
And also it is different in some aspects. So if I wouldn't, for example, I wouldn't like to write music only online. So going really into creative stuff, I want to do on my own music with my bands, with my bandmates. Yeah. And it really feels different meeting in the rehearsal room and playing stuff together. This is different. Also, of course, visiting concerts and from the band side, of course, being on tour, this is something special that you cannot get in any remote way. And streaming gigs are, I see them as an opportunity for performing for people that are not able to go to the concerts, especially being in Germany, having international fan base. That's a cool thing, but it's also different from a really live show where you've got the crowd there. So for me personally, this is my contrast program. Yeah, going to shows, performing on shows, and meeting the guys I need that, yeah. But on the other side, the whole work environment and meeting and working with bands from all over the world, this is so cool, and it's only possible doing this remotely. There are several ways. I'm actually offering for my customers live stream mixing. So this is some cool solutions. So the bands can actually listen to the session while I'm mixing, so we can go into it together and tweaking on some. Yeah, of course, you always have some personal taste stuff that you want to change. That's totally normal. This is the best way, doing it interactively together on the mix. Yeah. So from a professional aspect, I say it's totally cool, and I can really work with and have contact with a lot of amazing people, a lot of amazing artists all over the world, which is great. On the personal aspects, meeting friends, buddies, meeting my bandmates, and going to concerts and everything. This is something that you cannot do remotely. You cannot compensate remotely in any way.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm sure a lot of people would probably relate. I'm curious if digital solutions and whatever are going to improve to a point that they could feasibly replace that. Because there seems to be a lot of direction about that. But I'm curious as to whether that will work in practice or not. Because, there's something about obviously that physical contact that is different.
Yes,
so,
it is. And it's got a different energy from meeting in real life, of course. But as you're mentioning, the other side of this is there are so many cool artists, so many cool bands I wouldn't have met.
100%.
On the other way. So
I love that.
It's got positive and negative aspects, I guess. Yeah. So that's why it's important to combine it for you as you wanted to have, right? Yeah.
100%. 100%. I just know that it kind of goes back to that thing about being in a village and having to find a band out of your schoolmates or whatever. It's like, which is cool. That makes you resourceful. But like back in the day, I used to go to gigs every night and watch like 4 or 5 bands. And I watched so many bands to find like a handful that I really liked and could be friends with. And it was a hell of a lot of effort to do that, Whereas now it's so cool to be able to like, just people all over the world, and we can just like chat on Instagram or whatever. And you see what everybody does like right there. Like they've presented themselves properly, nice production, whatever. Like they articulate your vision as opposed to like the terrible PA in some pub or whatever. So
right.
I like that. I like that.
And it totally got these lots of positive things with it, and that's great. That's great. Yeah.
So as a producer, like what are some of the projects that you work with? I know you've done some really cool stuff with that. I obviously I first came across you through you doing the Woods of Wonders album as well, which seeing how much of an influence like Avantasia and things like that were, it sounds like you were a very natural fit as a producer for that project. So if I'm right as well, Gideon actually came to your studio, right, to do some tracking as well.
Yes. He did the vocals here in the studio, and this was really cool. And this is a really, really good example for what I love to work with artists remotely and international, because this really is the example for how well this can work today. Because Woods of Wonders is like a super, like Avantasia is a super group of musicians all over the world. It's with Woods of Wonders. I even would say that Gideon pushed it a bit further with having instrumentalists from all over the world and bringing them together, and also mixing styles. We've got some shouting, crawling vocals on it as well. This this was really an example of how well this remote work can work today, with having some cool drums coming from Alessandro, got a bass from Thomas of Snow White, and got rhythm guitars from Luigi. It was like, okay, from all over the world, I'll get the tracks.
Very international band.
Yeah, and putting them together, and it worked great. Yeah, it's because like I said before, it's you've got some decent drums, some cool recorded drums in a nice studio that you can work with, and you've got the DI tracks on the bass. You've got the DI tracks from guitars. So I can do my magic here in my studio with having the stuff they performed at home or in a local studio, and running the guitars here through the amplifiers and creating the sound that we want. Gideon actually wanted to go to the studio doing the vocal recordings, which is cool, which is great. We had some really cool time here recording the vocals. Of course, from vocals, sometimes it's a bit different if you want to have, and I totally can understand it, if you want to have a producer that helps you and says, hey, let's try that. Oh, you can, I think you can do a better take, and this some encouraging and stuff like that. This really helps. So yeah, it came all together in this project, and of course it also was I have to be honest that it's if you've got that many resources coming together, it's also a bit tough to really make the sound coherent in some way through all the tracks.
I mean, there was a lot of guests. I wanted to ask about this, that especially, I mean, if anybody doesn't know, there was over like 30 different people contributing to this record. It's massive.
Yeah.
And even instrumentals. And so everyone's got a different guitar, and every singer, I guess, has a different microphone and a different room.
Yes.
And that has to be like a massive challenge. Like, how do you even approach mixing it?
actually it was a challenge.
But
that's just natural. It's not like somebody did a bad performance or something. It's just like it's all different and coming together. So the main thing is, I guess, that we had bass and drums and mostly guitars from the same rhythm guitars from the same people. Consistent. And that's where the main basis foundation is created, and then of course you've got the different lead guitars coming together and solos and everything. They are meant to sound like the people who are playing them. It's cool to have different vibes there. And from the vocal side, it's more, I would say it's more more less musical but more technical aspects that you need to
balancing the mics
there. Exactly. So you just need to make them align in a way they fit well together, and cutting frequencies that make them feel good together. But it was challenging. It was.
I can imagine there's got to be, with that many vocalists as well, it's got to be really challenging. I don't know if, like, I feel like in theory it'd be good to use one of these plugins that is able to sort of kind of AI detect and bring it to like a neutral point across the board, and then you sort of do the sound from it. Did you use anything like that, or all manual?
I did not use something like that. No, it's like these I'm a fan of new digital stuff and new software that can do stuff that you couldn't do before. But in this case, I haven't used something that really worked in a way that I would be like, I can use that in the final production. There is some cool AI stuff like the isotope ozone mastering stuff. But I'm always, I love to use it when I start the session doing the mixing. Then I love to have some
get quick
right, some quick stuff, some standard stuff, to just have something that cleans up already in the beginning a bit, and it also is cool to have some maybe some first advices where you there's a peak in the low mids that I should go back into mixing and check if I can fix that, something like that. But in the end, it's most times, and this is a good thing for my work, it's always been like my master was better than for me and for the customer. My mastering was better than the AI did it. Maybe for some aspects this will change in the future for some, but the good thing is that I see for my work, it's always really creative and really
absolutely.
The sound is, especially in metal and rock music, the sound is really lots of the main sound is forged in the mix. So
absolutely,
there's lots of creativity that needs to go into there, and so you need somebody who understands about your style and who understands about how it was supposed to sound in the end. And until now, I don't see any AI solution that could handle that.
Yeah, 100%. I think the thing is, as you say, like AI and this kind of new tech, it improves the tools that we use.
Exactly.
But it can never replace us because like it's all like if I had to say like one thing that I learned about production is that when I first started, I did a thing that probably a lot of us do where you're getting so buried in all the YouTube videos and all of the tips and tricks that in my early projects, I was trying to do so much stuff. I was like trying to compress and EQ everything, thinking I had to do that and making mixes that sounded so weird, man. And like, if you try and rationalize it, it's okay. But if you just listen to it, you're like, what is going on? And eventually I came to a point where I just thought like, I really need to go back to basics and like, just trust my ears. Like, does it sound good is like pretty much the only thing that matters, right?
Yes. And in the end, if it does sound good, it's not bad if you've had an EQ that boosts about 8 dB at some frequency, because if it sounds
matter
good,
what's happening.
Yeah. Then do it.
Yeah. Exactly, man. And I think it's, in a way, it's about having the confidence to do that. But that's what people get in a producer and an experienced mix engineer or whatever is. It's not about the fact they have all these plugins or whatever. It's the fact that they've got good ears, you know, ears that you can trust.
Yes.
You know, and a musical mind. Like, those things are invaluable and no tools can replace them.
Yes, I totally agree. That's actually what I love about my job. Yeah, it's being creative together with bands and giving the bands making the bands sound the way they want to sound, because I understand I understand their music. I understand what they are looking for. Of course, I guess I would do a pretty decent job on a jazz song, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm specialized to. That's not my. That's not why people come to me to work with. And I don't have the experience in this style. And I would know a lot of people who are doing a better job on that. Yeah. But I know how rock and metal should sound. Or how people want it to sound. How I can, from a musical side, from a band perspective, I can understand if I'm listening to demos, if I'm listening to the rough tracks. I can understand. Yeah, I've been there, guys. I can feel what you want this to be in the end. Yeah,
exactly.
And I guess this is the thing why you always should go with an expert as an artist. Yeah.
I think you said a really key thing there, which is that like you feel where it needs to go, because that's what it's about, isn't it? It's like, it's not about just clicking buttons and the fact like, you could record any instrument. It's the same premise, any style. Yeah. But with this, it really resonates with you and the music will go through you and you're interpreting it.
Yes.
You know, and then the artist gets to benefit from your experience and your skills to like make something that's well crafted. Yeah.
That's the way it's meant to be.
Exactly, man. And like, I mean, the Woods of Wonders production I found to be really, really good. And I think probably the main thing about it, I guess, is that because it was an opera and it was so like story based, and even lots of dialogue on the record, the vocals really needed to be like so upfront and so clear.
Yes.
They were like, you pulled it off so well in the mix. There was so much clarity.
Thank you.
Whilst everything still sounds big and bombastic because it has to. And that's a hard thing to do, man. So again, I think you wouldn't necessarily mix every record like that, but with that one, you clearly you knew exactly what it needed to be and you served that purpose.
Yeah. Thanks. It's great to hear that. And it's actually it was also special regarding orchestra because it was not like some other symphonic metal bands that are like as we talked before have a basic band setup and then got some orchestra going on that fattens things up. No, in this case, the orchestra was
It's a big feature.
It was like an extra band member, right? If you normally have the band set up with guitars, drums, bass, and then you've got the orchestra being as important as the rest.
Yeah.
On the other side, of course, from a frequency side, the orchestra is kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was so you needed to really make space for the orchestra to fit in, but still having the rest sound powerful and punchy. And I was pretty happy with the results in the end, and it sounded really bombastic, having the base, the foundation with the band, but still the orchestra being really present where it needed to be present.
Yeah, man, I must admit, I find this to be probably my biggest challenge because I make a lot of symphonic music as well. And I've noticed as well when I've spoken to other people that produce and even mix symphonic metal, especially people that do the orchestra. Like it's very hard to be objective about this. Like if I compose like a whole intricate orchestral part and then I have to try and mix it in.
Yes,
it's very difficult because I want it to be loud. You know, like as you say with Gideon, it's like it's such a main feature, and I want everyone to hear all of this nuance.
Yes,
but it's so hard to do that in a way that doesn't just eat everything else up because you still want big guitars because it's still a metal track. You still want drums that smash through. And what I find is that a lot of when I listen to productions I really admire. Stuff that is like sounds really good to me. What I often find is what they do with the orchestra is like bring it down to a crisp. It's like it's hardly there. It adds a nice like texture and a bit of excitement, but you're not getting that detail and that nuance, and that's almost like demoralized me at times where I've thought like, do I have to almost remove the orchestra for it to actually sound good? So yeah, I mean, I guess a big challenge that one.
Yeah, I guess this is why it's important to be clear when arranging the stuff that where you want to go in the end, because in actually it's you can if you know in the arrangement situation that you want to focus on the riffing and on the band and on the vocals, but maybe there's something missing, as you mentioned, some texture, some layers that would fatten up. Then I'm not going into creating 10 virtual instruments, going with violins, with violas, with bass and everything else. No, then I'll just going into a cool sounding one plugin that's creating some kind of ensemble orchestra stuff, because you wouldn't hear the difference in the end. Yeah. So that's why you need to be. I think why you need to think about that when doing the arrangement. On the other side, if you want to have the orchestra really really present and you really have so many ideas for the orchestra, then do really basic guitars on the rhythm side. Leave space for the orchestra. Reduce the leads to some basic harmonies or something, or maybe even you don't need any lead guitars. You just need the basic bass drums, rhythm guitars, and then fill everything with bombastic orchestra. This is always, you always have to think before, I guess.
Yeah, and I love that. And that, again, that's the thing of like what people can get with working with a producer or working with yourself is that your understanding of the whole process from start to finish. And like, what does that typically look like, would you say, when you're working with a band or a client or, whatever? I feel like you're not just pushing buttons and doing the final mix, which obviously you can do a great job at. Like you do play like a sort of mentoring role, right? You're sort of coaching the process of the crafting, of the music itself. So what would that typically be like, that process?
Yeah, so actually, that's it. Really depends on the band's needs. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is why, while the first thing before working together with every band is having a conversation and having, to really check what is exactly what are exactly the needs of this band, where are they, what are the goals, how can I support them to reach these goals. Checking the music. There are bands who already know how to do this stuff, and maybe it's just some advice here and there, some smaller advices where I say, hey, wouldn't you maybe cut the second verse because it's getting too long, something like that, some really basic.
Yeah.
For other bands, it's like they really not already found their sound. Yeah, they are still in some kind of searching, and then we find that out in the first conversation. And if they need some arrangements, some songwriting help as well, we're going in this direction, and then we'll start a little bit earlier to work together. Yeah. So it really depends on the band's needs, but basically I'm open to really make these individual offers for all bands and to help them wherever they need. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that makes sense that it's all very much a nature of like responding to them, because I guess that's your role to like interpret what you're given, I suppose.
Yes. And sometimes if a band really wants their music, they already know exactly how they want to arrange it and send this to be mixed. It's fine as well. There's still enough creativity to go into the sound, go into the guitar sound, tweaking there, and going back to the band and maybe talking about some reference tracks, some bands they admire. Hey, they've got this really thick low end in the guitars. We want that, and we go more into this talking about sound. So it always depends on the band's needs.
Yeah. And I guess different experience levels, as you say. And that's cool. And another thing that we spoke about recently, I know that you've kind of started a bit of an initiative, which I find really cool, that you're looking to kind of expand on just production and music, and actually help at least just offer some advice and some mentoring perhaps on what they can actually do with that music.
Yes. Yeah. This is cool that you're mentioning that, because it's basically, there are thousands of studios out there, or that maybe create cool work and create cool sound. And this is fine, but what I want to give to my customers is not just a basic service, but beyond that, building a relationship and grow together and helping them to grow. And there are lots of musicians out there who are really good in doing music because that's what they want to do, but they actually, to be honest, as a musician myself, all the business related stuff and all the release stuff is something that a lot of musicians are really bad in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is okay. Yeah. I had some coaching as well on that for the studio and for the band, and you need to learn that. And for that purpose, if I recently posted and recently said, hey, okay, if there are newcomers, I want to give them a special chance, and beyond the general service of mixing, mastering, going into songwriting, maybe together, I want to help them with all the questions about release planning, social media presence, and stuff like that. So for me, it's important that collaborations with bands are not limited to just doing the regular service. Here you've got your music, do whatever you want. If their bands want to have advice, and if they need help on release planning and social media and anything else, they're open to ask questions, and we're doing separate sessions for that as well, because nowadays streaming, social media, it's got lots of opportunities for bands.
Yeah.
But it also yeah, with these opportunities, of course, there are a lot of more bands doing this. So you need to know how to get out with your music, where to put it out, what's cool marketing solutions, what fits to your budget, what can you do without budget, what can you do just with using the tools that social media gives you, and everything like that.
Yeah, and I mean, if people want a great reference for that, they can check out what you do and your stuff. I mean, like, obviously, you got the production services and things, everything with Sunway Studios. But Oversense is a fantastic example of this. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, you guys are super professional, and you know, your music sounds great, but it's a full package, you know, and yeah, it's a great example. And so people can see that, and if they need help with it, like with this stuff, then I think that if people have listened to this, then they can tell that you're a very ideal person to be working with. So yeah, really cool, man.
Yeah, of course. Just reach out, everyone, because I really love to work with. It doesn't matter if you're a big band, if you're a smaller band, if you just want to start. There's always a solution that really fits to the band, and that's
exactly.
I've gone this way myself, and so I want to help other guys going it maybe a bit faster.
Yes, I think that's it. At the end of the day, is like, it's one thing to just get a service, as you've said, like, and there's plenty of people that can offer a service, and people, and you can even try and do stuff yourself, but like the personability of it, you know, having somebody that can actually sort of mentor you through the process and help develop you as an artist, it's invaluable. Like, you really can't underestimate what that has.
Yeah, and unfortunately, many bands do not know how important it is, and of course, I can understand it, because they see it's something you don't see. For other bands, it's maybe you see they're doing some social media stuff here and making some cool content here, and the music is cool, but there's so much behind that, and so much about good timing and reaching out to so many contacts, and something that you as a regular social media user or fan of this band maybe don't see at all.
Absolutely, man. Lots going on behind the scenes. Yeah, that's really cool. So if people want to work with you in Sunway Studios, they go to your website?
Yes, go to the website and check out some info there, or just shooting me a DM on Instagram. This is fine as well. As I mentioned, the first thing to do is just getting in touch, meeting, and getting to know about the goals that the bands have, and then find the most the most fitting solution to these goals and how to achieve them.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'm gonna do a little bit at the end that people can hear, where I'll include the links, and I'll put them in the show notes. And things like that, of course. You know, at the very least, people should come and like follow you on Instagram, hit you up, and say hi or whatever, because you know that's what it's all about.
Cool.
Cool. So I'm conscious. Wow, the time has actually flown past, man.
This is a good sign.
Yeah. I obviously you're a very busy man, so I don't really want to keep you too long. I had some, there's plenty of things I could ask you about, but I guess I should just say, is there anything else that you would like to mention or get included in here?
I would say we touched pretty much. There is a lot more to say, so we can just leave it like, let's do another session.
Yes,
somewhere.
Absolutely, man. I'd love to.
Somewhere, sometime. And of course, if I'm happy to answer any questions about collaboration with Sunway Studios to all the guys out there. Any other questions for Oversense or something? Just contact the page. We are. On the band side as well, we are pretty much doing a lot of stuff on our own, especially social media. We want to do it like that. So we really like communicating with our fans and with all music interested guys. So just shoot us a message.
Cool. All right. Well, dude, we'll wrap it up there then. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Thank you, Will. And it was a pleasure to me, and it was fun, a lot of fun. And so yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Cool. Cheers, man. Thank you for listening to this episode of Creating the Universe. Special thank you to Danny for joining me. I really enjoyed our chat. Be sure to check out Danny's band Oversense at www.oversense.de and on socials at Oversense Music. And of course, Sunway Studios at sunwaystudios.com and on socials at Sunway Studios. Links will be in the show notes. That's all for this one. I'll see you next time.